And are you refreshed? Yes. Good. Now what?
I wanted to know more about how I can get myself in tune better with my source. I got a funny story if you'd like to hear it.
We always appreciate a funny story, but we're going to answer your question first. Just don't do what tunes you out. If you could accept that you would be in tune if you weren't doing that thing that didn't let you be in tune. We know that sounds like a silly answer, but the next thing is care about how you feel and guide your thoughts to thoughts that feel better and better, because your inner being is looking right at whatever you're looking at and feeling good. So you want to find a way to feel the way your inner being is feeling.
Okay. I don't want to stand on a stage like Esther, but I want to be in tune enough to have the messages come through clearly.
Well, it's like our friend just now was talking about. Meditation is the route Esther took. She didn't know she was going to do this. In fact, if she'd known, she probably would have made sure she didn't. But she did like the idea of quieting her mind, and she did like the feeling of detachment. And so it's just a matter of meditating regularly, every day if you can, for just a few minutes, 15 or 20, and quiet your mind. Because what meditation does for you, it allows you to quiet your mind, and it allows you then to have a conscious, aware feeling of what the higher vibration feels like. So not only does it tune you to the higher frequency, but it gives you a realization of what that higher frequency feels like. It feels light, and it feels clear. It feels like clarity. It feels like ease.
Some of the things that life does for us, how can we work through those and be more in tune most of the time?
Do you have an example?
Going to the grocery store. It's not that everyone here does it. It's saying you can find most things you can't find, or how are you going to be in tune with your inner being?
Well, we like very much you bringing the idea into the conversation, the experience of those everyday experiences, because it is those everyday experiences that are the reason for most of what you are broadcasting. If you can accept that what you're talking about, whether you're talking about being in tune with your inner being in the receptive mode, or whether you're talking about letting things come to you that you desire, in either case, the receptive mode is about not offering resistance that keeps you from being in the receptive mode. So it's the practice, the easiest way to explain what your point of attraction is. So let's just include in this point of attraction, in other words, I'm getting what I'm putting out. Let's just include in this point of attraction not only the well-being that is coming to me, the financial well-being, the friendship, the ideas. What's coming to me is because of my point of attraction, and my point of attraction is because of what I'm broadcasting. So most of what you're broadcasting isn't about some world-changing event. It isn't about some astonishing new idea that you've just received. Most of your broadcasting is about being at the grocery store, being at the gas station. It's about being at work. It's interacting with your family and coworkers and friends and strangers and so forth. And so what causes most people to broadcast the way they do is their observation and reaction to what's going on around them. So if you could just take that into your thought process a little bit and make a decision for yourself that goes something like, I'm not going to be such a reactor to life. Instead, I'm going to be a deliberate broadcaster, which means you've got to get out ahead of it. Because if you just get up and stumble into the day and right away just start reacting to what's going on in the household, and then what's going on at traffic, and then what's going on at work, and then what's going on television, then you have no control over what you're broadcasting, and therefore you have no control over what your point of attraction is. But if when you put yourself in bed tonight, you say, while I sleep, momentum of thought will subside, and when I awaken, I'm going to focus upon positive aspects. And then you do that, then you get off on a new vibrational footing where your point of attraction is different. And then if you begin responding to those improved conditions, at least you're off on a better foot. We would like you to reach the place where altogether, and we know it's a lot to ask, but where altogether you are just no longer primarily responding to conditions. But you've got to get out ahead of that. That's why meditation helps you. When you quiet your mind for 15 or 20 minutes, that momentum subsides just like it did while you were sleeping through the night. And when you come back into your full conscious awareness, you are not now, law of attraction is not still calling to you the things that you were thinking about before you meditated, which means you could then begin thinking about something that is more favorable, and you could begin a more positive point of attraction in that moment. So if you are aware that you want to have a positive point of attraction, then you are aware that you want to have a positive output or a good feeling output, then before long you can get out ahead of it. So instead of reacting to things, wanted or unwanted, you are broadcasting deliberately, and then the reaction of the world has to be to your broadcast, to your deliberate broadcast.
Prepave more?
Prepaving is what we're talking about. The difference between deliberate creating and prepaving, that's a good term, and creating by default is when you're thinking on purpose and then getting results, that's deliberate creation. When you're observing and then getting results, that's creating by default. People who are living that conditional kind of creating, where they're observing, having an emotion, then getting that point of attraction, then getting more of it, then observing, causing their point of attraction, then having the manifestation of it, then observing it, then getting more of it. The thing about that is that you really have no control, and it makes you then want to join the team or the group that needs to control conditions. Because when I observe this condition, I feel good. And if that condition would be more like this condition, meaning children or co-workers or employees or employers, if you would just be more like that, then I would feel better. But you can't get them to be more like that, so you don't feel better. And the more you are annoyed at them being like that, then the worse you feel. And the worse you feel, the more you need them to be like that. And so your world becomes, now hear this, this is a new conversation, and as this clicks into place for you, it's going to give you an understanding and therefore a new freedom that will really benefit you. So we started today by talking about how vibrations turn to thoughts and thoughts turn to things. In other words, how do you create your own reality? How do thoughts turn to things? And we're explaining to you that you through life have put a lot into your vibrational reality that has become a bigger and bigger and bolder and riper and readier reality for you to live. But you've got to be in the receiving mode of it. And so we've said to you some time ago, just get into the vortex. You've got to be a match to what's in your vortex in order for you to live in what you want to call manifested terms, what's in your vortex. And while many of you were able to accept that there is a vibrational reality, we began hearing from you things like, well, how do I get the money out of the vortex and into the bank? I accept that it exists, but so what? It existing and not being out here where I can play with it isn't very satisfying. And so we began giving you more understanding of how it's about you setting your receiver to the frequency of the transmitting vortex. You've got to have your frequencies line up, which means you have to be expectant of what's in there, or you cannot experience it. And so then we began talking more and more about you being the reason that these vibrational thoughts are turning more and more to accessible, seeable, hearable, smellable, tastable, touchable things. So as you begin to get the sense of how this process of becoming happens, then you are not only the receiver of more of the things that you want, but you get often into this sweet spot of consciousness where you're feeling good and ideas are flowing and you're having rendezvous and good timing and fun, and you feel sure-footed and You feel like you've got the world by the tail, because you do, and your life keeps turning out better and better and better and better for you, because you're no longer blocking all of the things that are making their way into your experience. So we talk about the joy in the journey, but we don't just mean putting up with the endless journey on your way to a slow manifesting desire. We mean really enjoying how you keep asking and you keep allowing, and with each thing you allow, then there's a new asking, so that your desires continue to evolve, because you never get it done and you can't get it wrong. And it just feels so good when you feel that clarity. And there's nothing that makes you feel more blessed or more worthy than to have had an idea and then to have tended to the idea until it is manifested. There's nothing that makes you feel more worthy or more blessed or more satisfied than to have looked into the world, made your choices about what you prefer, and then see that with the power of your own ability to focus both your mind and your emotions, that you can be in the place where life just gets better for you. And then and only then do you begin living the way you intended to live when you came into this physical body to begin with. That's who you are. That's what you expected. That's what you planned. And until you're living that way, you're not ever going to be satisfied. It must be that way for you. Life helps you to know that you want something. At first, you're not a good vibrational match to it, because it was the absence of it that made you even aware that you wanted it. But you minded your mind. You paid attention to the way you felt. You deliberately controlled your thinking a little bit. You cared about the way you feel. You felt better and better. You spent more time in meditation. You looked for more positive aspects. You thought more about the things that made you feel good, and you thought less about the things that didn't make you feel good. You found your footing. You started feeling good, and then thoughts began occurring to you, and those thoughts began manifesting, and your timing got better and better, and you knew you were doing it. You knew that with just a little bit of effort, far less than it takes to learn QuickBooks on your computer, you've got this going on, and your life is reflecting the improvement in your vibration. And now you are the deliberate creator of your own experience. So then this wonderful thing happens, because you become one of those who is creating deliberately and not so fixated on the outcome, just enjoying the process of the never-ending becoming. Because what you notice is, as soon as you get something that you've been wanting, you begin to want something else. So there's always going to be that somewhat of a gap between your giving birth to it and it gestating and you receiving it and it coming into full manifestation. You're not ever going to be standing in a position where you've got a whole pile of everything you want all around you. You're not ever going to get there. It is not the nature of eternal beings. There's always going to be something new that you've asked for that you're on the way to. There's always going to be something more that you've asked for that you're on the way to. There's always going to be something more that you've asked for that you're on the way to. And it's the on the way to that's life. It's on the way to it. It's on the way to it that is that sweet spot. It's on the way to it. It's on the way to it. It's the unfolding of it. That's why everyone who has ever existed, that's why all of us are all focused forward with all of you right here and now. This is the leading edge. This is where manifestation is occurring. This is the happening ground of creation. This is where it is. And we're all focused there with you. And when you stop leaving it to someone else and you stop pouting about what's not happening to you, and you take your own bull by the horns and you acknowledge that you are the creator of your own experience, and you let the energy that creates worlds flow through you, now you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Now you're living life the way you've intended. Now life is the way you meant for it to be. Now you got it going on. Now that's the way you mean to be, in the state of eternal becoming, conscious becoming. I saw it. I wanted it. I wasn't aligned with it. I felt better. I focused my mind. I felt ease about it. I allowed it. It happened. It happened. It happened. It happened. It happened. Things are always working out for me. This is the way you mean to feel. This is the way the larger part of you does feel. So,